It's alive! Good evening! I'm back in the garage. We got to the point where I'd achieved absolutely nothing. So tonight I'm hoping it'll be a short update. What we did, I took the original crappy Chinese wiring into the house, laid it all out on the living room carpet and went through it with a fine tooth comb. I took all the sheathing off, checked all the wiring and discovered that it's basically shite. There was a lot of twisted wires together, and anybody who knows cabling knows, you know, just twisting two bits of wire together is fine for bodging stuff, but when you buy a bike, you don't expect that. So I decided the best thing to do would be make my own, as I said in the last bit. I pulled the wiring apart, and I have here, in this carrier bag, my new Chinese motorcycle wiring loom. This is an engine only loom. You don't really need a huge amount of wiring apparently to make one of these things run. So just to elaborate, we've got the CDI unit here. It's a 6 wire. So you've got a trigger wire which is fired off the engine bay, which is one of these two. You've got a couple of earths that need to be fed to the chassis. That's those two cheeky little numbers there. So that's the CDI taken care of. There's also a couple of very random ones which I think are kill switches and something else, I'm not entirely sure. And then you've got one that feeds the coil. I'll go through this again in a moment once it's all on the bike. So this is just a recap. You've got your rectifier or regulator rectifier. Again, it's got an earth. It has a feed, 2 feeds from the magneto in the engine, which gives it its power. You've got a red cable that comes off, which this one feeds your battery and also some of your lighting if you so choose. It's fused, so that's good. Yeah, this was all taken from the original, so I've left some of the plugs on. So yeah, next thing is to reconnect this and hope in the hell that she fires, or at least sparks. So good evening again, and let's crack on. Clean up. Right, so what I've got to do now, you need a good earth for these things, so that's that clean. Sort of, I suppose. There is another earth point there, but I'm not sure how good that's going to be either. That goes in there. The leg bone's connected to the... No, it's the wrong one. Not me, isn't it? The wire bone's connected to the wire bone. You should never... Wherever you are. You should never strip cable with your teeth. But I'm not a good human being, so that's that. So we've got a good earth here. A lot of people misdiagnose a lot of wiring problems with bikes and cars the same. Poor running, bad charging, bad lighting, all kinds of electrical gremlins can be chased back to bad earths on things. It's a common misconception. People tend to think that there's something terribly wrong, and simply going through a few connections, cleaning them up and refitting them can often fix a lot of problems. What I'll do is I'll start with a brief, quick talk through of the cabling that I've just rushed and put together. With this monkey spanner here is holding on a positive, or 2 positives, that one there, which is the feed from the magneto in the engine. Also in there we have another cable, which is this thick one here. This runs round here to this side of the starter solenoid. This is what starts the bike and you push the button. On the other side of the battery we've got this crocodile clip with this twisted bit of wire together there, which is connected to the chassis, which is the earth of the chassis. The other side of this is we've got an earth cable which runs here to the engine. We also have the earth here, which is this thick black cable, which isn't the one I'll use. It'll be green when I finished. This runs up to this massive bunch of twisted together cabling. This earth's the coil has an earth, the CDI unit has 2, the magneto, oh by God, now put your teeth in, you fucking muppet. The regulator rectifier down here, there, that also has an earth as well. So from the engine, we have a few wires that come out of the engine. They all connect to the CDI. We have a trigger, which I believe is a blue and white one, I may be wrong, or blue and yellow in this case. All the trigger does is provide pulses from the magnet there. You might be able to see it there, it's not very good. I'll take some pictures and I'll show you some pictures later. My finger there, that's the magneto drive there. All that does is trigger and tells the engine fire, 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 fire. It tells the spark plug to fire. The CDI needs power. This is this one here, the red and black one from the engine again. It's AC powered on this model, so then there's two other cables come from this one. The CDI then feeds the coil, and the CDI tells the coil to fire, and the coil does its fucking business and fires the spark plug, which is down there. You've also got two random wires, which one's a kill, and I'm not, so basically you earth that, it stops the engine running, which is the same as turning the ignition key off, or normally pushing the little wee button that stops it. And that's about it really. You've got a rectifier regulator, which is down here. This is what turns the AC that the engine produces. I don't know about this, but I know bigger bikes can produce up to sort of 90 volts alternating current. The regulator rectifier here turns that alternating current into a nice, clean DC supply, which is normally tick over on a small bike about 11 volts. When you rev the engine, it should go up to about 13 point something, sometimes 14. And the idea of the regulator rectifier, why it's so thick and chunky, is that it's a little bit warm and stops the bike producing so much voltage that it fries all your bulbs. But anyway, on with the show, because now I believe it's time to start it. Or at least see if it sparks. Now, instead of ignition key, because this is a very basic wiring loom, I have an ignition screwdriver, which hopefully I should be able to. There you go. That's the starter doing its thing. So normally you'd have a switch instead of a load of sparks, but I'm going to turn this camera off and see if it's sparking. I've just spun the bike over, and you won't see it in this light, but there is actually a tiny little blue spark. It's very, very small because it's running through a screwdriver in the interests of science, so we say. Science? Is it science? I don't fucking know. I'm going to knock off the lights in the garage and I'm going to short the starter solenoid out, and apart from the arcing from this, what you should see is a teeny tiny blue spark from that there screwdriver. So, contact. Oh, that doesn't work, I can't fucking see. Right, brace yourselves. It's very dark. And there you have it. So this is the critical sort of point now where we short this out and see if it fires. We'll see if we can get some kind of action. Some popping and banging would be nice. So, it does something. What we have here is a can of Are You Starting? Or as I like to call it, Start You Bastard. And what we're going to do is turn the bike over and see if we can get it to fire and spray a little bit of this in it, because the fuel that's in the tank is about 2 and a bit years, well, we think 2 and a bit years old. And obviously in a small engine like this, the carburettor, if you can see the state of it, I'll take some pictures, is absolutely disgraceful. So I'm hoping that if I spray some of this into the carburettor while spinning it over, somehow we might get it to fire. This stuff's really fucking flammable and great for anything like this, so let's give it a whirl. Oh, there you go. The motherfucker runs, motherfuckers! For a second. Ha! Oh well. Sounds pretty quiet, to be fair. Whoa! That was stupid, Mel. So, we have a running motorcycle, albeit a bit lumpy, and it almost fucking took off across the garage floor, but... Join me in part 3 where I probably will put some wheels on! Ah!
Alright, who's there under a car wearing a cowboy hat in a bar? Well, it's Melv. Manly, manly Melv. Alright. Manly, 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 Melvin, 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 manly, 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 Melvin, Melv. Well, it's Melv. Oh yeah, well, it's